Good Monday morning, Facebook. It is Monday Morning Motivation, version 2.0. So I'm so excited about today. As we talked about last Monday, we are going to do a little bit of a different format in 2021, where instead of me sitting here like this, talking to a camera, trying to motivate you that way, I'm going to start interviewing some people in my life through whom I derive motivation. So I want to share some of the really special people in my circle with you, and kind of take you right to the source. I'm just a middleman. I deliver motivation to you, really, that was sourced elsewhere. And so I'm really excited about the opportunity to start bringing some of these people that are so special and near and dear to my heart directly to you. And so you can kind of hopefully be inspired and motivated by their words. And so today, my first guest is the person who really had the idea of doing this. He told me last year, I want to come on your Monday Motivation. And prior to that, I'd never even considered anyone coming on. It was just me talking to a camera. And so it only makes sense that he would be my first guest on here today. This man is so special and so important to me. His name is Pastor Michael Carter. Pastor Michael Carter is an ordained elder with the Free Methodist denomination. He runs Victor Newman Ministries. Victor Newman Ministries is a 501c3 nonprofit based out of Largo, Florida, and their mission is to give a hand up, not a hand out, to the last, the lost, the least, the left over, left out, and the looked over. They do so much good in the community, and I'm going to let him tell you about a lot of that, but let me just give you a little bit of a sneak peek. How about delivering over 1 million pounds of food to the food-deprived, homeless, hungry, and needy in Pinellas County? That's amazing. The impact that he's had in his community and the way that he compounds that and grows it year over year makes him a tremendous source of inspiration for me. But there's more to the story. See, Pastor Michael grew up in Missouri. He was a great student, had a promising future ahead of him, and he fell prey to drug addiction. And he speaks very openly and very candidly about the struggles that he's had in his life with addiction and the way that he's overcome them and utilizes the lessons learned in those down parts of his life where he hit rock bottom to now bless others that are less fortunate. And so we start our conversation off right there. My first question to Pastor Michael was this. How do you use the lessons that you learned during the worst parts of your life to bless others now during the best parts of your life?
Today, I really appreciate the low points in my life, because if I had just maintained those high points, I was in who's who among American high school students. I got a partial scholarship to go to Loyola University in New Orleans. I went to one of the best high schools in the state of Missouri. And if my life had continued on that incline without without all of the lows, then my whole life I would have felt that it was about me, my intellectual acumen, my ability to inspire and manipulate and just excel at high levels. And so it is through the failures in my life that I have been humbled, but also I learned more about myself in those deep points of my life than I ever learned or really knew about myself when everything was going well. And so much I like to share that, all of my mistakes were not the result of my neighbor's concrete. It was my own dumb asphalt. So the mistakes that I made and continue to make, and then got me mired in a lifestyle of sin and just operating, becoming comfortable at a level that was far less than what my family had shown me and actually what I was created to live in. But I saw that I was capable of, just like a hog, I was capable of wallowing in that muck and mire. And I just thank God for the revelation at a certain point, and the pain started getting much greater than the pleasure. And so it was through those hard times and that I really learned how resilient I could be. In my addiction, I learned that I did have a stick-to-itiveness. And so just coming out of that, I use the same guerrilla tactics that I used in being mired in my addiction. Like, I'm not too tired today to go do some good for someone. I was never too tired in early recovery to go to recovery meetings because I was never too tired to go get high. And just like I believed in those $7 were going to solve all my problems at 2 o'clock in the morning, even if I had to ride a girl's bicycle to South St. Pete, I now believe that continuing to do the things that I'm inspired to do and work with the people that are put in my life, despite the odds, the obstacles, that everything's going to work out for not just my good, but for my good, so that I can do good for others.
Okay. And I love that. I love that about you. The fact that you took the rock bottom moment in your life and learned valuable lessons from it that you're now able to apply in the most positive aspects of your life. I think that's incredible. But here's how I would come back from that, though. It can't be that easy, because if it were that easy, then anybody that hit rock bottom would then ascend back up to the top and be giving back and paying it forward in the way that you are. So what was it about you, or what happened to you? What was the moment in your life that allowed you to kind of flip that switch and turn your life around?
So I have a wonderful relationship now with my adult son. And so part of my childhood was being around drunken uncles, a drunken uncle particular, who was an absolute genius. Much of the time when I lived or would be at my grandmother's house, and and I needed to finish my homework or look something up in an encyclopedia, the man had a room full of books, encyclopedias, and pornography, to be clear. But I would have to consult him for the answers to questions. The man knew geography. He was a history buff. And so I knew as a child that genius is not always going to be indicative of success. I've known and met a lot of genius people, people who could talk an Eskimo into buying ice. I have known people who could manipulate. I've known people who were great with their hands, great with their minds, and still mired in the pits, in the hog pen of life. And so the true inspiration, though, came from me with the revelation that the same manner that I had a bit of scorn as a young man watching my uncle be less than a man, I had a son who was getting into his teenage years, and I was at the time sleeping on my mother's couch. And so I could just imagine the example that I was setting for him. So I really had a desire to be a curse breaker in that regard, to be someone that my son could be proud of. And I didn't know how that was going to happen. And again, I had a few role models set before me. The Bible tells us that he who walks with wise men becomes wise. I learned about the drug business, drug trade, about how to be a crackhead from crackheads. And so when I met some people who had overcome their addiction and were walking in the ways of the Lord, I just stuck close to them. I've always been a mimic in my own unique style. And so I just began to draw from people whose lives were successful, people who were making something of their lives, and what they were really doing was pouring into me. And so I felt incumbent upon myself that to the extent that I could have people pour into me, that would give me an opportunity to continue to pour into others. Many of the times that I would find myself in situations, particularly jail, I would be surrounded by people who could not read. And so then that was a real wake-up call that, man, okay, you might think you're smart, but you're in the same situation with people that can't read. And so how much of your book learning has really benefited you? And so I just wanted to take advantage of all the resources that have been made available to me, all the gifts that I had, and use them for the benefit of other people.
So I know you don't take compliments very well, but it's extraordinary, the things that you've overcome in your life, and you referenced this earlier, the way that you attack this newfound life that you've created of blessing others in need, with the same ferocity that you kind of attacked your demons and your addiction. You haven't let up, and I think it's amazing that you've done that. So let's talk a little bit about what you're doing today. I think if I asked anybody that knew you, like, what's PMC most known for, the answer would be feeding the homeless and hungry. What you've done in your community and beyond, when it comes to providing food and meals for needy people, it blows my mind. And every day I'm just in awe of not only the fact that you do it and the success with which you do it, but also the amount of hard work and effort that you put into it. You just don't stop. And so talk a little bit about that initiative. I mean, how many pounds of food did you distribute in 2020?
In 2020, we were able to distribute over 600,000 pounds of food. Our goal was to surpass the 1 million pound of food mark distributed in a little more than a 5-year period that we really began what we call our Friday Food Fellowship, was this distribution to the food insecure in our community. But as a result of COVID-19, in our partnership with Feeding Tampa Bay, we were deemed an emergency relief organization, which means that they entrusted us with more food to get into communities as the economic impact of COVID continued to increase in many communities. For many people who never believed that they would find themselves in a situation where they would have to go to food pantries, or they would have to rely on other people to help supplement their food, which is where they get the term food insecure. It's not necessarily people that aren't working or on welfare. It is the working poor, people who for no fault of their own may have found themselves downsized or a loss of hours. And so as a result, they still have to pay many bills, sometimes some medical bills as well, which leaves less money for quality food. It's amazing that in America, only in America, are obese people also living at the poverty level, because of the quality of food that is available when your income is short. I mean, if you just walk around the outside of the grocery store, you'll see that the cost of produce is often prohibitive, where in the middle of the aisles, you can go get some sweet, sugary cereal and ramen noodles and those type things that are low income, or generally there's a definite negative health impact.
Yeah, no doubt. Do you know how many pounds of food you distributed in 2019?
So we probably doubled the amount of food that we distributed in 2019. Currently, we are distributing about 30,000 pounds of food every week, whereas 30,000 pounds of food would have been in 2019, and the end parts of 2018, about 20,000 pounds of food, 5,000 pounds a week was generally what we were distributing. So today,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just want to add, today we're actually operating as a hub. There are smaller agencies and ministries that we are able to provide food to, and that gets food throughout the state, all the way from South St. Pete up into Dade City and Lakeland.
You're making America plates again?
Making America plates again. Yes, sir. We love, so that's one of our initiatives, Make America Plates Again, part of our community catering initiative, because anybody can get some peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and take some bottled water. Anybody can go out and just throw some goulash together because they're homeless people. But we make a genuine effort, particularly because of the resources that we have. We make a genuine effort to provide a quality meal beyond the wildest expectations of the typical homeless person on the street, and we call it community catering. And it provides an opportunity to be demonstrative of God's love. The Bible says, taste and see that the Lord is good. And so that's one of the things that we like to be able to say, that we demonstrate the love of God by just the way the food tastes and the heart that we have to prepare. Right now, my wife is preparing enough chicken and rice because it's a little cold. It's going to be like chicken and rice soup from scratch. We've got about 40 pounds of chicken, garlic, the Trinity, garlic, onions, and celery. With some carrots, and we just want to go out and show people that if God can use a selfish, inconsiderate, immature fool like me to come bless you, just imagine what he'll do with your life if you surrender. And that's my overarching message.
Amen. One of the things that I love so much about your food mission is you mentioned the quality of the food, right? It's not peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I mean, you're on that smoker, smoking ribs and chicken, and Yvette is making, made from scratch chicken and rice soup. The quality of the food, but also it's served with dignity. And I've got a lot of friends that have made a life of feeding the hungry, and I've always been impressed by the dignity with which they do it. This is not, here's a paper bag with a sandwich in it, go around the corner and sit on the bench and eat it. You guys are actually delivering meals made with love. And I admire that. I don't know if I've ever told you that before, but I really do genuinely admire that about what you do.
Prior to my addiction, I was in restaurant management for a major restaurant chain. I won't mention them. And so I have well-trained restaurant management skills. I've worked in restaurants all my life. My grandmother was an accomplished cook. She actually ran the middle school cafeteria in our neighborhood, and so everybody knew me as Miss Fox's grandson. And so cooking has always come natural for me. I'm a pyromaniac. I've set a couple of apartments on fire in my childhood, and so I love to start fires, and I love to cook. And so I'm constantly, I don't know nearly as much as I thought I knew about grilling and smoking, but I keep practicing. I've got a neighbor who has a lawn service, and he keeps me supplied with almost a never-ending supply of oak and pecan wood. And so just to be able to start fires, and the Lord keeps bringing chickens and turkeys for us, ribs, and so to be able to share. I don't eat pork, and so I'm probably one of the best rib smokers that does not eat pork himself. And so just to be able to share that with other people, it's really fun. I just say it's fun. It's something to do, and I enjoy doing it. And to just be thanked and know that people know, and it's that not just our very best to feed the natural man. It also provides opportunities for us to feed their spiritual and inner men and women as well, and share with the whole premise behind the Spirit of Victor Newman is to let them know that wherever they are today, it does not define their future. Their yesterday does not define where they can find themselves tomorrow. If, like you mentioned earlier in a conversation, it's not just about being motivated right now. Everybody can find some motivation and some encouragement from what someone shares with them right now, but then will you have the discipline to make the steps? And so we want to just provide some accountability. God loves you, and so do I. Don't give up on God. He is not giving up on you. And I share my story to let them know that there's a brighter tomorrow if you start doing a few things and making a few changes today.
Listen, I told you that about the difference between motivation and discipline, because I knew a guy once. I still know him, but a couple of years back, he made a comment. I think it might have been about me, actually. It was kind of like a thinly veiled comment about me that said, Monday motivation is a waste of time. He put it on social media. And so you know me, I'm not going to hold back. I said, well, what do you mean it's a waste of time? He said, because motivation is meaningless. You got to have discipline. Discipline is what gets the job done. And I told him, I said, I completely agree with you. I completely agree. The analogy I gave him is, motivation will get you out of the garage, but discipline will get you to the destination.
Yeah.
But what is the purpose or product of that discipline if the car just sits in the garage? At the end of the day, you talked about all that wood that you're being provided. You might have the best burning wood in town, but if nobody strikes the match, it's just going to sit there. And so to me, it's always been twofold. It's you have to have a catalyst, which is the motivation to get started. And then you've got to have the fuel, which is, the discipline to finish. And I think they're both equally important. And maybe they're not equally important, but they're both important. I'll say that much. You talked about fun, and I think it's interesting. As you were talking, I was like, there's so many ways to introduce people to Jesus. There's so many ways to bring people to the Lord. And, I didn't know spare ribs was one of them, but I think that's fantastic. That's something I can get behind, But the one thing that I'm thinking about is you say, it's just fun. It's fun. It's so much fun. What's your busiest day of the week? What calendar day is your busiest day of the week?
Right now, it's a toss-up between Tuesday and Friday. We've added a day where we actually distribute food 4 days a week.
So that hold on, I'm asking specifically for a reason. I'm asking, this is why. So let's just pick Tuesday. What was your day like last Tuesday?
Last Tuesday. So I'm generally exhausted by the end of the day. And so I probably was up at 5 o'clock on Tuesday because I was in bed before 9:30 on Monday. And so Tuesday mornings, I do some, for our purposes today, I call it motivation, but I get up and just spend some quiet time with the Lord. I have an aquarium, which is one of just my bastions of peace each day. I sit and just do nothing and look at my fish for a few minutes every morning, and then throw a little food, and then start some coffee, and then I come into my office and just listen to the Lord. And I try my best to engage in intentional behaviors. So I have my Bible set up, my notebook, things set up to just facilitate me being able to hear from God, find the word of God that I will need for the day or as part of my devotional series, and just take some notes and then allow the Lord to really plan my day. The Bible says a righteous man's steps are ordered by the Lord. And so if I don't get those marching orders each morning, how will I know if I'm even marching in the right direction? One of the things that you just mentioned really struck a chord with me was discipline, because I found that I was very disciplined in my pursuit of my drug addiction, my drug of choice, which was crack cocaine. And so I had to be disciplined to make sure that I could earn some money so I could go see my guy, so I could go back and just burn it all up and do absolutely nothing but peek out the window and crawl around on the floor. So to that point, I'm disciplined in my pursuits today, but it comes from being motivated, and I would say motivated at its highest level, which would be putting myself in position to obtain revelation knowledge and some inspiration to walk it out, and just make myself available to be used every day. I try to my point is to make sure that I let the Lord fill me up each day. And that way, as I'm doing what I do, I never feel like anybody's trying to use me up, because they can't.
So it sounds to me like you're saying this. It sounds to me like you're saying that when you were an addict, that addiction will push you to do whatever you need to do to get to your end result. And it sounds like you're saying that you're still an addict. You just change the thing that you're addicted to. You replace the drugs with the Lord.
Someone told me in the early parts of my addiction, I would say to anybody that's struggling with any sort of self-limiting beliefs or character deficits or behavioral issues, if someone comes to you and asks you, do you think you have a problem with something? They're asking that question for your benefit. They've already really made up their mind. So I'll say, when I was still operating in denial, someone told me, and it's really profound, but right there, it was just white noise. They told me that I had a God-sized hole in me, and I was trying to fill it with the things of the world. And so obviously, if it's a God-sized hole, there's nothing that you can ever fill it with. And when you start trying to fill it with mood and mind altering substances, then that puts you in position for addiction. And so, yes, I would say that I believe that. And so today, the addictive lifestyle that I had now is just expressed by my passion and pursuits and running hard after the things of God.
Okay, so back to your Tuesdays. Tuesday morning starts at 5 a.m. That's quiet time, God time. Then
Yes, sir.
I know personally you were in a networking meeting at 7 a.m. because I was there. I saw you there. So that
Yes.
was 7 until what, about 9:30, and then what?
7 till 9:30, and then we have the first of our trucks begins to roll in, and it's about 3,000 pounds of food that we divide between 3 different ministries, and that lasts probably. So we pull all that off a truck, sort it out on pallets, essentially divide it in half based on what one of the church organization needs. Then we have a church that comes from Tampa, and we then give them the other half of the food, clear the parking lot. A truck from Feeding Tampa Bay comes in, and it generally has about 7,500 to 10,000 pounds of food.
So to be clear though, 3,000 pounds comes in on the first truck, 10,000 pounds comes in on the second truck. You're downplaying it. We pull that off. What does pull that off? You got a big staff and you got a lot of equipment and it's all automated, right? It comes off all by itself, right?
No, it's generally me, a few little old ladies, and our ministry partners to be
physically honest, lifting and unloading 13,000 pounds of food.
Oh yeah, that's touched by human hands.
I just want to make sure that we're clear about that so people understand what your days look like.
Yeah, so I'm deceptively strong. I probably couldn't pick up 13,000 pounds of weights in a given day, but I can.
13,000 pounds of turkey, so that's a different story. I can
move some fruit and chicken and ground beef around. We've been doing this for a couple of years. I wear a back brace. I wear an oil appliance that allows me to align my bite, which gives maximum performance for my body. So I have some peripheries, and then I'm prayed up, and I'm strong in the Lord as well. But we get it done each and every week. And obviously we have quite a few people who will volunteer to show up to help unload food off of the truck and put it in their vehicles. But the hands of diligent people who are there just to serve, those are few and far between, but God keeps bringing them and we keep making it happen.
How old are you?
Which of course is why I'm asleep by 9 p.m. most days.
How old are you?
I'm in my early 50s.
Okay, and how much do you weigh?
I weigh about 180.
Great. So after your early 50s, 180 pound body is done offloading 13,000 pounds of food, then what?
So during the offloading process, I am also doing a real quick sort of items that I can take to feed the homeless later that evening as part of our community catering on Tuesdays. And so I get some sandwiches and salads, and there are some things that I know so we also prepare about 20 hot dishes as well during that period as well. So I generally have something in a crock pot or simmering on a stove, and so I'm adding to my jambalaya or chicken, and generally, a lot of chicken and rice and jambalaya type dishes, something hot that I can prepare pretty quickly with a myriad of ingredients. And so I'm cooking at the same time that we're unloading these trucks. We might have some ladies that can make some sandwiches when we get fresh French loaves in and sandwich meat. So we probably make about 40 or 50 sandwiches made as well. At 3:30, then the lot is cleared. All the trucks are gone. There's some food that's been put away securely so that we can distribute it later in the week. I always try to put back a portion. I call it the spirit of Joseph. Be prepared to save a seventh, because you never know when the famine might come. We're not guaranteed. This is all God. I don't place an order for 13,000 pounds of food each week. it just somehow shows up, and we're in position to do something with it when it shows up. So then I rush down to Kim's Family Restaurant in Largo, Florida, and they provide 100 cups. Axel, the chef, he's of Hispanic origin, so he's a very flavorful cook. They love his food, and he provides us 100 hot portions of food that we pick up, and then we supplement that, and then we go to.
I think quickly, I think that's important too. I want to definitely give props to Kim Cortez of Kim's Family Restaurant. What street is that located on?
She is on Starkey.
On Starkey and Largo, correct?
Sir, that's correct.
Yeah, so if anybody wants to check out Kim's Family Restaurant, I think it's incredible that they're donating 100 meals every single week.
Every single week, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, keep going. I don't even know. Are we even to like 3 p.m. yet?
It's 3:30 now. We're picking up, and so also in that 13,000 pounds of food, there we generally get water donated. You know, when you go to the store and you pick up that 48 pack of water and you grab it by the plastic, and the plastic rips and the bottles fall and roll all over the store. I would like to thank you for whoever does that, because that water then gets donated to us, because it can't be sold in most cases. So it becomes a write-off. And so we then portion the water, fill up a cooler with about 140 bottles of water, run to the restaurant, pick up the hot cups. We supplement the hot cups with what we've prepared, because we have found that, you know, the people will eat the homeless will eat as much food as you have. And so I never like to leave without having fed everyone sufficiently, and made a hot meal available to everyone when we take something hot. So we pick up from Kim's, ice up the water, and I'm in downtown Clearwater, usually by 5 o'clock. Sometimes traffic, the amount of food that we've had to distribute. If I have to take something somewhere else or pick something else up, I'm not quite there at 5. And they hate to wait, but they love the taste. So they've made reservations, and the party doesn't start till I get there. So
where is that location at on Tuesday evenings?
This is the corner of Pierce and Myrtle. It is
okay.
a parking lot. It's right across the street from the Clearwater Police Department. The people that we serve, they call it the cop shop. And so we cater at the cop shop. The Clearwater Police Department is there just as a security force, because we do have some other volunteers that come and they bring blankets and distribute clothes, and sometimes they give away bicycles. And so it's really become kind of a big thing in Clearwater on Tuesdays.
What time do you wrap up there?
So I wrap up when the last person, you know, I try to stay until about 6:15 or so. So by coming at 5, it's giving everyone a chance to, you know, get there from work. But some people have different schedules, and so we generally stay there until about 6:15 or until the food is gone. And so I try to make sure that I have a couple of plates until I'm actually pulling off the lot, because inevitably, as soon as I give all of the hot food away, somebody will show up saying, do you still have something to eat?
And you don't want to say no.
I do not want to say no. If I'm out of food, there is a 7-Eleven around the corner that works with me. So I'm able to go buy a couple of hot dogs and get pizza at a discount price as well.
So we wrap up in downtown Clearwater, and then what, back home?
Then it's back home, and I have to, so my wife has some health concerns, and so I definitely don't want to compromise her. So it's back home. I generally undress in the garage, hop in the shower. Oddly enough, after distributing 13,000 pounds of food, sometimes I get home and we're still undecided on what we're going to eat. And so then it's what are we going to eat, back and forth. Generally, it's just a salad and some chicken for me. And then it's pretty much try to continue and follow up emails for just, you know, an hour or so, share a little time with my wife, regroup. And that's about it. Get ready for a new day.
So I'm going to ask you a question that I personally think is a dumb question, but I want to ask it anyway, because I think that it's a question that most people probably would have pop in their head listening to you tell your story. But the question is, how do you do it? Because you just touched on something as well. Miss Yvette has health issues. A lot of people, if their wife had health issues and had, I'm sure you've got personal issues in your life like everybody else does, they would let those challenges and those struggles derail them from their mission. They would say, well, this happened, so now I have to stop that and focus all my attention on this. You don't do that. You continue hard pressed on the mission regardless. And if you need to make more hours in the day to address all the other issues, that's just what you do. Where does that come from?
Well, it also comes from the fact that my wife has not let her health issues deter her from her mission. So my wife is my partner in this. She is actually the director of Open Arms, which is a food outreach ministry, which as a part of St. Paul United Methodist Church. And so she is off. I wish that she would get more rest and take more naps so I could cuddle up next to her. But just seeing her get up and go every day, it inspires me. And that's really one of the great blessings that we have when we become more outer focused, when we look around and see what's going on in other people's lives and how they continue to do it. It can, again, inspire and motivate us that, if I see this person and they have these challenges and they continue to grow and go and move and contribute pour into the lives of other people, then what's my excuse?
Yeah. The reason why I'm having you on, and I'm glad we're doing this, and I'm glad that you're first, is just because I draw so much motivation from you. I know your wife is a source of motivation from you. I mean, who else in your life, where do you pull your motivation from? You're always motivating others. Where do you get your motivation?
So first and foremost, obviously, it's going to be the Word of God. For me, I fell in love with the Word of God and still was not sure about church people. But I joined the church. And so I've learned that he who walks with wise men becomes wise. And so you've become one of my mentors and one of the places and people that I draw motivation from. The networking group that you mentioned that we're both involved in, there are many members of that group, particularly from the very top on down in the highest forms of leadership. Our executive director, can I give him a shout out?
Yeah, go, yeah.
C. Spencer Reynolds, a young man who's a few years younger than myself. He's probably one of the most inspiring people that I know and can put my hands on and reach out to and call and ask questions.
Yeah, and the networking organization is BNI Tampa. It's no secret.
Yes, BNI Tampa. So C. Spencer Reynolds, he's the executive director. And so I just consider blessed that I have the ability to reach out to people and can put my hands on people that are not just talking the talk, but walking the walk. And their inspiration is manifest in their lives. I know plenty of people that consider themselves teachers or experts in particular fields, but I'm a fruit inspector, not necessarily to judge, but I want to see it manifest and played out in your life. Victor Newman Ministries wasn't Victor Newman Ministries, even though God had already birthed it in my spirit. I actually was the very first client who had to prove it, but it wasn't anything other than a dream until we actually put the legwork in and started going out and taking hot meals and hot chocolate out to men and women under the bridge and in the parks in the middle of the night. And so I always look for inspiration. It can be wise words. It can be wise words and also the manifestation of operating in that wisdom. You can find a lot of people that are outside right now sitting around a fire on a pickle barrel on an empty parking lot that know everything, got plenty of knowledge, but it becomes wisdom, I believe, when you can walk it out and when it's applicable, not only applicable in your life, but then you have the ability to share it with other people. And so those people that are willing to share, I'm always willing to listen because, again, when I was in the streets, I spent a lot of time listening to foolishness and lies and braggadocio, and I still have a head full of old rap lyrics from the 80s. And so I've always been a listener. So today I'm seeking inspiration, wisdom, and knowledge that I can use to make my life better, which then puts me in a position that I can be an encouragement and share with other people. One of the great things is that when you hear something and then share it with someone else, you get the inferred credibility that can't, from your source. You don't always have to have a footnote and tell where you heard it or who shared it with you. You just get to be the wise open sage.
Yeah, you made a lifetime of stealing things from other people.
Hey, I once heard that good speakers borrow, but great ones steal. So I have no shame in the game.
What are we looking at behind you? What is this young man standing on the top of a ladder?
So, is it John Ramsey? The inspiration behind the one word?
Oh gosh, you would do this to me. John Gordon.
John Gordon. So this year I was intentional on following your lead with having one word that I would use just as my North Star for all of my initiatives this year. My word is consecrate, which means that I'm going to intentionally set myself apart for the highest good, the purposes of my vision. If it does not coincide with my vision, if it doesn't get me closer to my vision, then it's just a distraction and an obstacle. And I believe that obstacles are what we began to see when we take our eyes off of our goal and our vision. And so my word being consecrated, I'm just setting myself apart, setting my thoughts apart. And so this background is just a reminder that I'm climbing for a higher level, for a higher good. And you can't see the person's head. His head is out of his head and his frame. I'm sorry, his head and his hand are out of the frame, which for me is just symbolic of the fact that I have a higher power that can guide my hands, and also I can have the mind of Christ, which is the unseen,
I love that, man.
Which is the unseen revelation knowledge that just comes from just having an enabling power that can help me do all things.
I love that. And for anyone that doesn't know, John Gordon is the author of the Energy Bus. And John Gordon talks about how every year they choose one word. It's sort of your one word vision, which will always keep you grounded on your overall purpose and plan. And so it's something I didn't even know John Gordon did it. It's something I've done for the last 4 years. And then through Spencer Reynolds, the executive director of BNI Tampa, I found out that it's actually a thing. John Gordon, your one word. And so I like the picture though, because my one word for 2021 is elevate. So I might use that picture as well. That young man is elevating himself right up out of the frame.
Yes, sir.
Consecrated and elevated. I like it. Hey man, I appreciate you so much. I think you know that, but I don't know that we spend enough time focused on what you do and the amount of good that you do for a population of people that so desperately need it and deserve it. If anyone is watching this and they feel compelled to, how can they help you? How can they help you to extend your reach?
So they could visit our website at victornewman.org, common spelling VICTORNEWMAN.org. We're always looking for volunteers. One of the things that has happened as a result of the pandemic is that just across the board, when it comes to not-for-profit and church organizations, the volunteer pool is generally retirees, little old ladies. And so we really had an army of little old ladies that did everything that we got done from 2015 up until about March of 2020. And so we've had to, because they then are in the category of those who are vulnerable.
Yeah.
We've had to draw back. So we've really been doing more work with less people, which of course, as any calamity or obstacle or setback will reveal, it showed us the people who are committed. It's really drawn us, those of us who are still volunteering and working. I'd like to give a shout out to one of the members of our board, Frank Mites, and his wife, Jeanette, who are really they do much of the administration behind Victor Newman Ministry. I'm just the go person. I just need to make sure that we've got some money in the bank, that when I get ready to fill up our box truck that gets 10 miles to the gallon, people are not going to laugh me out of Wawa's, and that, our license plates are in order and the truck is insured. And so we've got just a myriad of people that contribute to what we do. My wife really does a lot behind the scenes. Most of our connections are because of the grace of God on her life. And so Victor Newman Ministries is really born out of the overflow of everything that she does. And so again, I'm just blessed, because my responsibility is just not to mess things up coming from where I've come from. So, remaining diligent and being faithful, those are the necessary steps that I take, just to, again, we don't place an order for 13,000 pounds of food every week. We just show up ready to go. The trucks show up. So we thank God for the opportunity and for being provision. And
Yeah,
so to that point, time and talent, young men with strong backs, we're always looking for the golden goose who can lay a golden egg and give us one of those great big cardboard checks with a lot of commas in it. We're always looking for heroes with zeros in their portfolios. But the actual reality for charitable organizations is that, much of our contributions come from ordinary citizens who just make small monthly donations. And we have seen over and over that loose coins can make real change.
Yeah, well, and the human capital is a big deal. I never considered that the need has grown while your workforce or your volunteer force has dwindled, because so many of those that were volunteering are vulnerable with COVID. So that's a new aspect of it too. I appreciate everything that you do. What you just said kind of reminded me of one of the mentors in my life, which is my friend Thaddeus Bullard, who is a WWE wrestler, Titus O'Neil. Hopefully I'll get him on Monday Motivation one day, but he always talks about being blessed to be a blessing. And I think that's what you just said in a nutshell, is that you've been blessed to bless others. And we are all very grateful. I'm grateful to have you in my inner sphere. And I'm grateful for the motivation. I'm grateful for your friendship, your support, your mentorship, all of that. I appreciate you doing this. And I just know that, 2020 was a difficult year. There's a lot of people that are incredibly fortunate and blessed to have had you in their path to help them get through 2020. And I just hope that 2021 is a prosperous year all the way around for you and everything that you touch.
Well, I really appreciate that. I appreciate your contributions, just to keep me motivated and encouraged, and the connections that you have made for us with other business leaders throughout the Tampa Bay community that helped us to be able to provide a great Thanksgiving and Christmas of hope. And that momentum has just carried us into the new year. Actually, 2020, for just, I don't really know how to quantify ministry success other than, beyond the numbers. It's not really just the numbers of pounds of food that we've distributed. It's the smiles and the tears, and just being there for people, because we were able to do so, because we could get some gift cards and gas cards and help some people with some utility bills and some, we've partnered with a couple of automotive maintenance and repair shops through our network of friends. And so we were able to help a lady who actually lives in her car get some car repairs done so that she could move around. I would not have felt comfortable knowing that she was living in a car and could not drive to places where she felt more safe. And so it's through some of the connections that you've made for us. One of the things that has really been a change in our ministry operation is we're not looking to have notoriety. We're not trying to be as well known as some of the major organizations here in the Tampa Bay area. We want to be effective. We want to be life changers. And it's not about promoting ourselves. It's just about sharing what we do to let people know that there's a grassroots ministry right here in their backyard that is just intentional about doing more good better, and you can help.
Look, you know how I feel about efficiency. It's not about being the biggest, the strongest, the most well-known, none of that. It's about being efficient and effective. And in boxing, they always talk about the pound for pound best fighter. The best fighter is not necessarily the 275-pound, muscle man. The pound for pound best fighter is typically someone who is smaller in stature. And that's how I feel.
I'm going to run with that. I'm going to start calling Victor Newman the Marvin Hagler of ministries.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's literally what I think about when you say that, right? Like, you guys are pound for pound, the amount of effect and reach and efficiency and with which you do it. I mean, you guys are highly, highly effective for the resources that you're working with.
Yeah, I'm still crunching some of the numbers, but right now it appears that lifetime, for every dollar that has come into our coffers, it has turned into 10 pounds of food in somebody's plate. So
10 cents a pound.
I don't even know how to relate that with going to the grocery store, where a pound of meat is generally $5 to $7, and so for every dollar that we get, we can get 10 pounds of food in a box and give it away to somebody.
It's such a great stat. It's a great measure, and I think it's a measure of your efficiency. I mean, 10 cents a pound, that's crazy for meat, and I think that drives home the point. So again, pound for pound, what you've done, what you've been able to do and continue to do is incredible. And I'll say this: the way that we were able to partner around the holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas and all of that, that's just the beginning. That's just the beginning. It's the tip of the iceberg, because in 2021, I've got some ideas about connecting you with some other people that I know that are in the community doing more good, better. And I want you guys to combine your efforts and multiply and compound your reach. So I'm pretty excited about some of the great stuff that we'll be able to do this year.
Yeah, thank you so much for everything. And one of the things that has just really, really impressed me is that the relationships that we have built through 2020, through the pandemic, that are really assisting us in getting food to communities beyond our scope and our sphere of influence, because my wife and myself, we are finite resources, and so we can't be everywhere, and we can't do everything for everyone, but when we work together, many hands lighten the load. And so most of the contacts have not come from the church world, they have come from the business world. And so I'm really I've really been excited to get outside of the walls of the church. And then 2020 further forced everyone who was stuck inside their little boxes in the church world to start changing their mindset. But thank God Victor Newman Ministries was already, kind of ahead of that curve. And so, it has not been it hasn't been staying inside the church world. It's really been operating outside the walls of the church and networking and partnering with people who want to do good, regardless of their belief system. Most people want to do good. And so Victor Newman Ministries, we've always purposed ourselves to be a network and a coalition of like-minded individuals that just want to do good for people in need.
Yeah, well, and we talk about in the business world, 2020 was a year of adapt or perish. And the reality is a lot of people had to think outside of the box and pivot. And I think most of them will be or have been rewarded for that adaptation and making that pivot. And you guys have certainly done that. So I love you so much, brother. You know that. I thank you for everything that you do. I thank you for taking the time to do this. And I'm just really looking forward to all the great things we can do in 2021 and beyond.
Absolutely, man. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. One of the things that I actually have purposed myself to be mindful of is that each January 1st, as we greet one another, we tell everyone Happy New Year. And so my mindset was already geared to Happy Whole Year. You know, the new part is always happy. You still got your noise makers. Some people wake up, still got those hats on, don't know where they are, but they're happy new year, you know. So I'm looking forward to it being a happy and prosperous whole year. And our success as a ministry, my success as a pastor is contingent upon ushering the people around me into their personal success and their personal best. And so it's all about me being enabled to empower others to have their best life, you know, and I want everyone in my sphere of influence to have the rest of their lives as the best of their lives.
This is my party hat right here.
I love it. Love
this
it.
This is the hat I keep close.
Yes, sir.
Well, happy whole year to you.
Yes, sir.
So there's two things that I also think about you on a personal level. One is you're one of the corniest dudes I know when it comes to these ridiculous puns that you like to go with. The other one is that you're like an 80s hip hop, old school rap head. So on the way out of here, I want to give you an opportunity to do one of two things. You can either bust a freestyle or tell us some corny pun. It's up to you. What's your choice?
So I will just share in that regard. Where's my gold chain? Let me find my gold.
Oh boy, here we go.
I just hung my chain up recently too, so we will be in close proximity. But I've been working on my office this year. I'm just gonna say I'm PMC in the place to be. I lost it. I'm sorry.
You went to Hard Knocks University.
Oh, there it is. I'm PMC in the place to be. I went to BNI University. Since kindergarten, I've acquired the knowledge. But I've got wisdom they don't teach in college because it takes a lot to entertain hungry people on the street with stomach pains. The trick to the treat is giver's gain. So take a friend to Kim's Family Restaurant and make it rain.
What more can I say? Drop the mic.
All I got.
Happy whole year to you, brother.
All I got. If I was standing up, I would have hit it up.
I know you would have. You would have had the Kango on and everything.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hey, happy whole year to you, brother. I appreciate that.
I appreciate you, man. Love you, brother.
All right, PMC. Love you, man.
Thanks for your time.